Rainbow Six, well, ESL Rainbow Six, and there you'll get all the info of all these tournaments. But we need to head into the match. Before that, we need to decide on which map we will play. Yes, if you haven't watched the season just yet and you're tuning in for EU, well, welcome. Number 2, we now play best of 1. It's a league system with 14 matches in the 6-month season, 7 matches pre-patch, 7 matches after, and they're all played on different maps. But we'll start off here with our bans to see which team has removed what. And we'll remind you that since this is EU Playday number 1, just like with Playday number 1 in NA and Latin America, both Clubhouse and Villa are grayed out, which means they cannot be played. These 2 maps that are grayed out will rotate every single week, bringing our map pool from 7 down to 5. And you might remember back in the day we had an even longer map pool. It was up to 9. Now we're down to 7, and we shrink it even further. Makes a lot of sense with the best of 1 format.
It'll keep it interesting. I mean, obviously we have days like where it's all border, like
day one
of Latam and Latam, but then we got to see Clubhouse yesterday as well. So the nice thing about it, if we see too much of the same map, we'll also see more variety of the map.
It'll be banned. It won't be played for another couple of weeks.
Exactly.
Which is good.
So the way this is going to work is today, it looks like we're going to end up on Bank. So in this case, Bank now, these 2 teams cannot play that tomorrow when they play their second play day. So in the case of these teams, if Bank gets played again by the other team that they're matching up against, it'll be the other one that'll be banned is randomly selected. So
the pool
vary.
keeps getting smaller and smaller until you get to the midway section, and then it just rotates all around. That's pretty much after 1 month of play. At the end of the month, you rotate back and you have the bans. So you'll see Bank will be our only map, as again, best of 1. Big change that we have now, 10 rounds. You can tie. Because you saw the standings first, well, it's a league system. You win. If you're familiar with football, with anything, especially since there might be a lot of Europeans that are tuning in, this is how it happens. You win the match, 6-4 or whatever. You get to 6. You win the game. You get 3 points on the board. You tie 5-5, like we saw quite a bit in Latin America.
Quite a few.
What happens is that each team gets 1 point. You lose, you get nothing. So it's pretty simple to understand. And since you play so many times throughout the season and on 2 different patches, it's fairly simple to say, you know what, you lost the game. It's fine. You can bring it back. That's for Cloud9 out there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of teams that are going to need a second chance after some bad performances. But a lot of ties were interesting yesterday. Yesterday and the day before, really. It was surprising how many ties LATAM had overall. I don't know if we'll see the same level of ties in EU, but we didn't see any really in NA, so
maybe.
You never know.
We'll see if there's a clean sweep, just like we saw in NA Playday 1. But before we do that, I want to hear what you guys have to say. And that's why we have our pronostics, basically, to see which team is favored by the fans. And you know what? 77% for Vitality does not surprise me when it comes to fan base. However, not everybody knows that Mockit has done what they have done, and 2-0 Vitality very, very handily. Actually, it was surprising how effective Mockit were at the French Nationals.
Well, the question I have, though, is was Alive playing on the team then in the French Nationals? Because if so, then he's proven it was a good choice, and that could be part of the reason they've stepped up.
And this is the thing. He was actually fragging out of his mind. A lot of teams have resorted to banning Ashe against Mockit just because they didn't want to deal with Alive's Ashe.
He can be a very aggressive Ashe.
So that's something to keep in mind. If your opponents are banning Ashe against you, you know that Alive is an absolutely amazing Ashe main.
Especially since that hasn't even been a hugely played operator for a while
Zofia has been, taking over a bit more. It's pretty much like a 40-60 nowadays. We'll have to check out the exact stats for that. But it definitely she definitely has been encroaching on Ashe's territory. And you know what? It makes a lot of sense. Both operators function in a bit of a similar way, just one a bit faster, more aggressive. The second one offering more utility rather than speed.
I think NVK's been a good demonstration of that as someone that converted pretty wholeheartedly and made a big difference with it. And I think, we're seeing with the bans now, we're seeing so much variety of operator choices because with the 6th pick and the bans, your players are having to think a lot more about their operator selections and not just default to the same mains they always play. Especially, for example, when we saw Hibana banned so much yesterday. That really changed things up for a lot of players. I think some of the Hibana mains might have even had to play Thermite, which is going to be a little out of their wheelhouse, and I think it contributed to some struggles for some of the teams.
And not only that, that's why I'm looking forward to the final matchup tonight with Orglis X1 up. Why? Well,
Ban.
we all knew Hungry is the best Ying in the world. Take the Ying away from him.
Yeah.
I want to know what that shows. He's still a pretty good smoke, but what happens on the attack? It shakes things up. The bans on their own make the game completely different. But you know what? We just prepare for Siege 2.0, Pro League 2.0, everything out the window. Now we're back with an actual league format, and it's looking pretty good so far in week number 1, I have to say.
Well, I expect a lot more upsets, really. This is something with the bans we've seen have really thrown a lot of teams off that were, everyone expects, FaZe to do good or this team to do good. And it's just throwing them completely off their game because it's something they can only prepare for to an extent.
Yeah.
You can prepare for your opponent, but you can't always prepare for what they're going to do to ban against you. Now, obviously, a lot of teams have practiced dealing with no Mira, for example. Yeah, that's something that everyone's established, but dealing with no Hibana is something that we saw, for example, a couple teams yesterday struggle with, even on Bank specifically. So we could see that again today, where it makes it a little more difficult. Yeah, it's a map that's been around since there was no Hibana, and people were used to, we know how to play Thermite for the 2 things we need to, but it's still a lot different.
It's a completely different game.
Yeah, not only that, not only just the difference in utility, the difference in gunplay. We saw how strong the Bearing 9 is along with the Type 89. And it's a big difference versus Thermite's gun, which is a good gun, but it's not a quick SMG like the Bearing 9 is.
Yep, that's for sure. It's you're trading off firepower for a lot more effective destruction. It's it's operators that are on the surface look like they do the same thing. However, once you dig just a bit below the surface, you find that the differences are huge, and each one caters to a completely different play style, but also to a completely different way of thinking about an attack or a defense and setting up your composition.
Yeah.
So you got to keep that in mind. You mentioned even banning those operators against teams that are well known for them. Well, that might, on its own, throw them off their balance and might not be able to recover their match. And you know what? I think that's great. If you want to be the best at a certain point, obviously, logically, you just don't want to have it so, you have to fight to the death. That's would be a bit too much.
Yeah.
But still, you got to adapt. And that way, with the amount of operators that we have right now, I think this is a pretty darn good addition. But ladies and gentlemen, as you just saw, we're going to head into our match. Remind you, best of 1, only played on Bank. And Mockit Team Vitality actually played this map last weekend. So we start off with our bans. Vitality with the first attack ban, and that'll be Hibana.
Again, I wonder though, will they ban Glaz, for example, because we know Zafir is very good Glaz. But Mockit obviously need to choose wisely because this is definitely going to affect them on attack here because they start on attack.
There you go.
Glaz.
If you don't ban Glaz against Vitality, you already gave the game away.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in seeing is it going to be a Mira Echo ban or a Mira Maestro? Because the thing is, Vitality have suffered so much against an Echo. There we go, Mira banned. Not surprising, as we'll remind you of the same stat. 29 out of the 31 maps played at the French Nationals banned Mira.
Yeah, this brings it back to more like year 1 meta for Bank. When it comes to needing to use Thermite, not having to deal with a Mira inside the servers.
There you go.
But
it makes a lot of sense. Vitality understood their exact weakness. This is why Vitality are known as the team that always wait until the last 10 seconds to push in and plant because their execution is very, very fast. However, when there's an Echo, it always shuts them down. And it's disheartening to see them repeating the mistake when there's an Echo against them. I think Vitality will always be banning an Echo.
It's definitely something that we haven't seen banned a ton. Maestro's been banned, I'd say, a little bit more than Echo has in terms of similar play styles to an extent. But and unfortunately, for Vitality, they didn't ban that Ashe against Alive. So they're going to have to deal with that 2-3 speeds because they've got the IQ. Then we got a 6th pick over to Castle. Something we see a lot, either 6 picking off him or to him. It's been very common.
All right, well, they're going to start off as CEO. So Janitors, Janitor makes a lot of sense when it comes to defense. Let's see how Bibu actually plays on the Alibi. We haven't seen a ton of Alibi. A lot of people have been gravitating towards the Maestro, but I like this. The Alibi will confuse players because there's so many small angles like the elevators, etc., that can be used to set up your Prismas, but this is an interesting rotation. They leave one hole open and a second one as well to lead into the meeting hall. and they'll reinforce half of the wall. This is very interesting.
That half is definitely something that's pretty common to make sure that you can't get, for example, like a long-range Ash opening up the wall to give it an angle from a rappel or from the top of the parking garage across into that elevator hallway. And if you have the extra reinforcements, I think it's generally worth doing, because being able to rotate down that hallway, especially with the hole you saw them open, they need that extra rotation capability. And if they didn't reinforce that, that could have defeated the whole point of having that rotation hole there.
There you go.
The catch by Panics.
Yep. Camera's going to get removed. We've been seeing a lot of Valkyrie play, but a lot of Valkyrie bans as well. And, you know, Bank is a pretty good map when you're playing Valkyrie. We've seen it many, many times, especially at Atlantic City LAN, where even a team like Norarengo really played out of their minds on that Valkyrie.
Yeah. It's still been a pretty common pick. Now, despite all the extra cameras that defenders have, even having Maestro, they're still going to bring that extra utility, because the flexibility you have of throwing cameras definitely beats having to stick them to a wall.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's one of those operators where you look, oh, she has cameras as well. Oh, nobody's going to use Valkyrie anymore. No, that's not how it works. Valkyrie's way of just throwing those cameras wherever she wants, that is completely different than any other playstyle that you might have on other operators like Maestro, where you set it up, or even any of the other operators where you're setting down a stationary camera that you cannot move its line of sight. But this time, Mockit taking their sweet time here.
It's a playable shield. What a fun entry.
They're going to use it here. You see the Alibi contesting all the way in the back, enemy low on health. And you know what? You're making fun of the shield, Devin, but...
No, I like it. I think it's great to force them to vault in there. Means it's so much harder, and you see how many people they've committed to that ATM approach. It's actually completely working against them. They don't seem to want to go in lone office for whatever reason, which would give them maybe a little more flexibility than entry. And Alive already taken down Rafael, though. That's a good start. That's the Maestro down. That means those cameras are a lot less useful because no one can rotate them now.
Yeah, you cannot rotate them. You cannot use them to snipe out the drones. So hopefully they were set up correctly for Vitality, though a lot of damage has been done to enemy and Alive, and the kill will come in for Spark, because Alive will rotate in from the top. And that's the Thermite now.
Yeah, the only hard breacher down. Second one for Alive as well.
I'll get the second one. The Zephyr eliminated, but he did try to play close up. Unfortunately for him, the FAMAS will win pretty much every single fight at that range. Bibu with the MX4 in hand, will have to fall back on the Alibi. You know, he's using the Bailiff. We've seen the Bailiff being used to set up, you know, either rotation holes, but that's a bit of a stretch. It'll also be used to open more angles here. The two kills going the way of Vitality of the MX4, and the second one coming the way of the Valkyrie for Spark. Last 2 versus 2. They'll get the spot, but Bibu cannot connect. See the attacker on the other end. Panics will go down, and what a shot! That's now enemy down on the floor. The round is pretty much over, as enemy will try to fight his way back up with 1 health, as of course he is the resilient Polish woman Zofia, but he'll end up going to the floor, dying at the end of Vitality to take round number 1.
I think it's interesting that the 2 last defenders left alive have very similar guns, which are known to be a bit of a pea shooter, tend to require more headshots than anything else, and that just goes to show the accuracy of those last 2 on Vitality, to be able to win those gunfights at that range with those, I think it was both reflex sights. And that's not an easy thing to do, so they definitely had some good aim, some good pre-planning, but they were also letting the attackers walk into them. And that's a big part of CEO strategy, is baiting people in.
Yeah.
And that was what that deployable shield was very useful for in terms of controlling that. But then the flank from Alive definitely worked out in their favor. So I feel like once Alive got picked off, that's where the attack kind of fell apart, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, that's why you have the castle as well, because you want your opponents to come in, but you want them to waste as much time and utility as possible before entering the first half of the site. And you know what? Castle caters to that playstyle so well.
It is absolutely a big part of that meta in defending CEO. We see it time and time again. And the nice thing is, when you do the 6th pick, it doesn't reveal the site to the other players, right, to the other team. It reveals all the operators you picked before the 6th pick. Because they picked the castle later, that didn't give them the opportunity to realize it was probably CEO. They're thinking, oh, maybe it's downstairs or maybe it's tellers. They didn't expect that CEO pick. So 6th pick is not just for operators, it's also for helping hide the bomb site.
This is a Maestro spot that I love. It's wasted utility if you play against it, and if you want to contest it from the door, you expose yourself too much. So you need to be careful about it.
It's also hard to nade out, especially if he puts the ADSs like he's doing right now to be able to guard against nading it. You pretty much have to find an opportunity where you can either get rid of those nades first, which they're not breaking Thatcher or anything to do that. I mean the ADSs, or
double ADSs and a shield.
They want to make sure that Evil Eye sticks, and they're able to help with that. And that's important because you can see through the smoke, so they can call out without needing a pulse, which they have anyways. They are doubly making sure they can stop this plant. Not to mention, the Evil Eye can help through the smoke, tag down anyone who's low on health to maybe kill the planter. Let's say they get tagged a little bit with the smoke from Brid. That would be a great finisher. This is a very heavy denial, and then that mute just can help a little bit, making sure that they can't drone that out completely.
And if there's one site, we're talking about Echo Maestro smoke combo a couple days ago, but this is the one site you really don't want to be pushing against when there's all three of those operators facing. Fortunately, though, for Mockit, they won't have to deal with the Echo. They have been, at least in the past week, comfortable dealing with them. But right now, at least, there's no problem. The Maestro is already set up pretty hunkered down.
It surprises me they would use a thermite on the server hatch, when generally, especially going back to our earlier year 1 meta, it was all about the open area admin office hatch, opening that up and then being able to open up this wall right here. So using it on that hatch, which can be used against you post-plant, seems like a little bit of a waste. I mean, obviously, if they had Habana, whatever, you can do that because you have the extra utility. But with thermite, I question the usefulness of that, but we'll see how it comes down in the actual execution now that they're getting down towards site.
I completely agree with that. I think if you open up that open area hatch, then you can have a secondary angle to watch from. Here, this doesn't really give you anything substantial because the angle that you get from the hatch and skylight is just not something you're going to use effectively when going for the plant.
You also have to have a heavy flank watch to make sure you don't get killed watching it. Although they are getting some good nade attempts here. See if those ADSs are still helping.
No, nicely done. Panics' grenades are always on point. The most scariest grenade player in EU. We'll get the snipes on the 2 drones in the back. Second grenade's going to get cooked as they have the information in the back. And boom goes the Weasel. Zephyr now removed from play. That's the Mute and the Jaeger removed with no damage done to Mockit. Everything. Just the grenades of Panics. Vitality with 3 left. 3 canisters left on the smoke with 40 seconds on the clock. This is time to go for the plant.
Yeah, typical Pulse and Gold Vault can help out with that as well. I mean, they have all 3 of the plant deniers, basically, or the people to help with the plant denial left alive. They have the C4 left alive. They can still deny this plant with 28 seconds left.
We'll get the information from the Pulse. As you see, the Maestro is set up in the back. Flash will come in as the gas canister should get thrown. And will there be throw here? No enemies ready. How does he get the shot as well? From the stairs, Revan will get one more. All left on Spark on the Pulse, and Revan just runs in with the FAMAS.
Flawless. Getting
the 2K Mockit. Beautiful execution on the site.
I gotta give credit to Panics though for those 2 opening frag kills. That really opened things up. They had the extra manpower and they used it. They didn't really need that skylight hatch that we were talking about, but just the angles they played and the way they played those grenades. In fact, the shield actually worked against them because they were able to lob the grenade over it and use it for cover. So unfortunate the way they turned that tides big time on Vitality there.
Yeah, this just because of those grenades and Panics, you had no more manpower, so not enough manpower to watch the stairs in the back. And once that was lost, well, the Zofia can just come in and attack. But you'll see our bans remind you, Habana, Glaz, Mira, and Echo. Fortunately for Vitality, when they get to the attack, it'll be the Echo that usually really shuts them down. Won't be the case this time. Enemy going back again on the Zofia. Not surprising at all. And that will be the one and only 6th pick for the round here. Now, I'll remind you that we have a different format in Pro League. Not only do we play best of 1s, but now you play 5 rounds on attack, then you switch. That's why you'll see good half set pretty much at the end of it, because now it's actually a half.
Yeah.
And then you go play on the attack after having played the defense.
So 2 more defensive rounds, well, counting this defensive round. So this one and the next round will be defensive rounds for Team Vitality, and then they will switch sides, as you said. And this is best of 10, so first team to 6. No overtime. 5-5 is a tie, and as you said earlier, the teams get 1 point each for that. So we have seen quite a few of those, and it's come down to a lot of 10-6-4 score lines as well. So I do think, as with these 2 teams, it probably will be close like that.
There's a lot of art in the setup of these alibi Prismas. used to talk a lot about those mirror windows, but you know what? Now I can harp on and on and on about Alibi.
Probably not as well. I would say probably not as much because Alibi's played a lot less. But then with the bans, mirror,
Who knows?
yeah,
Who knows?
you never know at this point. Just because I think that'll trend downwards though as the season goes on. I think the mirror bans will trend down, but. So far, I believe it's been approximately 50-50. I didn't keep track of last night, but the first 2 nights it was about 50-50.
As an avid Mira player myself, it kind of breaks my heart to not see her every single round.
Attackers have dropped the bomb.
Poor thing.
Poor thing.
Either way, though, won't see Mira or quite a few of the other operators this round. Unfortunately, not going to see that Ying, which would have been interesting to see on this particular attack, just because flashing into tellers is pretty effective because it's such a small room. But then instead going with the Zofia is still not a bad approach because the stun grenades can have a similar effect. Plus, you get the extra grenades to blow open walls if you need to.
What makes a lot of sense is bringing the Ashe and the Zofia at the same time because you're expecting the castle, which is brought by Vitality on Rafale. Those three castle barricades are annoying. You know, you mentioned the Ying, that there's the Candela. Well, you know what? You at least get the 4 stun grenades that you get on Zofia. So Zofia kind of mixes the two together between, you know, the Ashe and the Ying. So
I know no one will use it, but you can use it fuse style on the castle barricades. The Candela.
That is very, very true.
Anyone would do it to be hungry, but no one else want to try that.
He's literally the only person that does it. Spark is going to get
contested.
Oh, boy. This is a big loss. This is why most of the time, teams won't go for this wall first. They'll go for the second one in the hallway.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricking on Bank, in particular, both upstairs and that wall, in terms of using those impact nades. And one down already, not finished off though, as Alive could stay alive, get picked back up.
He's all on his own, and there you go. Gonna get shot down by Bibu, who runs back on the site. Grenades are gonna get set up here. Sol flashes. Panics needs to cook those grenades. Perfect time to use. There's no more exothermic charges. They've all been burned off.
Unfortunate. This is going to get pretty hectic in this last 54 seconds with 9 people left alive on this push.
Oh no, Bibu is ready. He's playing from below. The hatch is already open in Skylight and jumps down from it to contest his opponents through the hatch that they had pre-opened here. Vitality in the prep phase. Rafale still holding up in the open area just in case somebody comes around to go for the flank, and that might just be the Twitch as Ivan is trying to move in. He will get hurt with the barbed wire. How did he not see the face? No, goes in. Rafale somehow lands the kill as Vide gets another. Void, just one for him on the board as he'll have to ace this one if he wants a chance at victory. He'll get the second one on Zephyr, but so low on health now, down to around 20 health. He'll move in so many pre-opened holes, and Vide will use one of them here as he eyeballs it through, lobs it from the archives all the way to the head of the Thermite.
They just absolutely played that perfectly in terms of defense.
I like he was trying to drop shot, but he can't drop shot anymore.
I saw it yesterday with Latin America too, that they had trouble with the drop shots that's so mechanically ingrained at this point. You got to practice the crouch drop instead.
Exactly.
I mean, you still sort of can drop shot with hip fire. I mean, I'd like to see some Maestro drop shots because the hip fire is so good on that LMG. That would be pretty hilarious to see. But either way, we will see all 4 bomb sites here as we go CEO, lockers, tellers, and now open area. So they are wanting to play the gambit here, not going back to any particular site. And I think that's going to keep Mockit on their toes. And that is, you know, possibly why they're a point ahead here. But they are definitely playing their defenses smart, as we saw last round, as well as the first round. I think they just struggled a little bit on lockers, just because of those grenades from Panics. Overall, though, I think we're seeing Vitality play a little bit better game. Zephyr without that glass, though, unfortunate for him, having to carry frags at the moment.
The glass being banned definitely
he can't play it on defense, though, just to be clear.
You sure?
I mean, he could try.
Remember back in the day when Frost with the Super 90 was pretty much glass on defense?
Yeah, the Sniper 90.
And the Sniper 90.
I mean, now we have the Maestro for that because he's got an ACOG on an LMG with very low recoil despite the ACOG and a really good hip fire, and that's part of the reason you're seeing Maestro banned so much, but not this match. So, I mean, we'll probably see it at least once later today.
That's the thing. You either ban Maestro or Echo.
In this case, I honestly think Echo's better, but the gun of Maestro is pretty good. I just mean utility-wise, I would take Echo, but I can see it. You got to pick one or the other pretty much. So in this case, Bibu is going to be on that Maestro. Whereas previously he'd been on the Alibi, so definitely want to change it up based off this particular site. But he is using the utility of that Bailiff you mentioned earlier to be able to open some nice holes. Leaves a little less dependency on Smoke to be able to open those, but either way, Smoke is here as well. So I think it's nice touch to have that shotgun pistol.
All right. Well, Panics is set up on the side here, penetrating into the skylight. So I'll just move in, check trading, and we'll check for any utility that is preset. Spot something in the back, and it's got to be careful. Maybe some... There we go, spot one. That's probably one of the cameras that have been preset. Bibu, we've been playing in the elevator. That's a bit of an odd spot. Hopefully he'll get checked there, because if you don't check elevator with a drone, you just deserve to get back. Right?
Those are little boxes of surprise for people that don't drone well. Definitely makes it fun, but you also can get trapped in there if you're not in an elevator that has a hatch on it.
He's got a Bailiff, so he has already opened the hatch. I mean, yeah, there's only one of the two elevators that's yeah,
yeah,
there you go.
So the other one has a hatch as well that's soft and still unopened, but yeah, you want that escape route for sure anytime you're roaming, especially if you're hiding in a spot. You saw, I think you might have just seen even Revan drone it.
I think that's a health hazard to not have a hatch on every single one of the
elevators. Yeah, this is not an ADA compliant map, as they don't even have a bathroom.
Oh no!
Oh
no!
The evil eye doing its job.
The evil eye.
That is why I love Maestro right there. Those kind of denials with Habana down as well, that is only one hatch that can even get opened. And on an attack like this, you want both hatches, because that offers a lot of sight lines and pressure from above. Now they're going to have to depend on opening the floor more.
I love that Maestro play, using the evil eye for the only thing that was needed. I'll get at least one thermite charge off of it. That is pretty much a huge advantage.
That's my favorite way to use them too, is you hide them in a dark corner on the ground, because they can see completely sideways from the ground, which is a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of spots you could tuck them in, and it was a nice little dark corner right there. And now obviously you can't use that every time. It's got to be more of a surprise tactic.
Ivan just checking around the drones here. As you see, there's still the Maestro, and he'll get the spot on the IQ. What are you doing? Panics will go down to Bibu here. Now Ivan will try to contest it, but now he goes on his drone. Well, gives him the information just at the right time to get frag on Bibu.
Ironic that was from the elevator that he was playing earlier.
So enemy will get one. Zephyr with the refrag, as those open holes as well, looking into open area, will work his way. Diffuser will get set. And a 3v2. The FAMAS is still available. Gas canisters will help the defense basically split the attackers into two. Well, you see the crouch level. Bride will sneak his way to the other side of open area as he'll try to contest Revan. Unfortunately, he's not able to get the kill on Zephyr. And as they go in for the diffuser, he'll have to deal with them and goes for the... I love how he still went for the drop shot and still lost it at the end.
Gotta practice that.
Gotta practice that. The FAMAS will not triumph in that 1v3. And well, this round will go to Vitality. We go into round number 5, our final round before we switch sides. And Vitality right now leading the way. Very well done on the defense. But what I'm afraid of is Vitality on the attack. I want to see how they actually play against the Maestro in there, especially with no Echo there. I'll keep repeating it, but it is really a huge problem. Half of Vitality's lost rounds are pretty much due to an Echo that just shot them at the end, because they're down to 10 seconds, and Echo now is so much stronger than before. To
be fair, Mockit have also been down to the last like 30 seconds most of the time before their execute, and that's something we harp so much on Vitality for, but we've seen it a lot yesterday, for example. A lot of teams, and I know Parker and Michael commented on a lot how often it looked like a Vitality push in terms of how long it was, but I think
like
that's just kind of how it is. Yeah, well, without Habana, it seems to be a very common thing. Taking out Habana seems to really slow down all of these attacks, and you saw even what happened to Thermite with that Evil Eye last round, slowing it down even more. And because of that slow push, because they had so little manpower left when they went for the plant, it cost them that round.
Oh, well, we'll see if Vitality can keep the streak. 4-1 would definitely give them a big advantage. They'll be 1 round away from guaranteeing a minimum of 1 point in our EU Playday.
But you were hyping up Mockit so much.
I am hyping. Well, I will keep hyping Mockit up, because I was so surprised by the way that they beat Vitality. Granted, it was a best of 3, but their 2-0 was in a very fantastic fashion. They kind of showed that they were up to the challenge. And, one of the most important parts of it was removing the glass from Vitality's hands.
Yep.
We'll see how that plays on the attack as Alive, though.
Yep.
Remind you, Mockit still on the attack. Play 5 defense, then 5 attack, boys. So Alive will just drone in, make sure he has all sights clear on the open area. Well, you know what? He'll just come in and watch as the defenders just set up and reinforce all the walls to slow them down.
I'm never a big fan, though, of an Ashe droning for themselves. That always seems like a little bit of a waste of that 3-speed. And you've got Twitch droning for themselves as well as, and then Panic's just kind of hanging out. It seems like that's part of the slowness of the push is they're not having people like Voy droning for these entry fraggers to run in, and that's kind of slowing things. Bibu, though, not slowing things down. That was a nice peek. And then Spark as well, ready to potentially get a second one, hiding at the top of that. However, if they catch him there, we could see a little bit of some flashbangs coming out against him from Alive, perhaps, but nope, he's going to rotate. Again, slowed down. That peak by Bibu pretty much cost a lot of their attack momentum.
This is one of my... the only thing that would be missing, this is a spot that Panix really likes to play, because we've seen him playing it so much, is the blue stairs leading into server. If you put an Ella there with a couple ADSs, she is such a pain to deal with.
Yeah.
Because you try to 1v1 an Ella up close, she has the advantage every single time.
You almost need a Capitao at that point, something that could get past the ADSs.
Actually, that would be pretty good, but there you go. Now the Ella might just be contesting the FAMAS up close. The Spark is still in the CCTV room. I'll rotate away, but unfortunately for... well, at least the attackers of Mockit, they won't be able to spot him on that rotation and can't get the angle.
This has definitely gotten way slowed down, and a garage push is a very risky one. There's a reason you don't see it very often. And surprisingly, they've left that garage wall soft, which could make for an easier breach if Ashe still has any remote breaches. Obviously, they've lost the Zofia for that, but they also have grenades from IQ. Those Legion Mines getting shot, so not going to help them with that.
Oh, he'll get the spot. The Twitch will go down. What are you doing, Ravon? Here's the second one from Rafal. Bride will get one more, and they should get the kill on the player in the back. Bibu will get one as Bride lands in the final one. They realized, okay, well, Mockit are all going to push through Garage. You know what? We're just going to have line of sight on literally the 2 places they can come in from. And bam, easy round for Team Vitality. You'll see the switch as we head into round number 6. The good half's going off in chat. Remind you, our bands, Habana, Glass, Mira, and Echo, you can't see them. They're right up there. They're right below the score. You don't need, you don't need to have them all the time, right? You can watch 3 minutes of the best seats you can get.
Good try.
Definitely worthwhile.
Yeah. Give it 3 minutes.
So I want to see how the Dokka... I'm actually surprised that Mockit didn't play Dokkaebi.
Well, if Zephyr's any good on that DMR like he is on Glazes, that might work out, but it's such a low damage DMR in comparison. I guess he wanted to go... So that's why he did earlier. He picked Capitao, then switched off to do it as a 6-pick. You see, that's going to be pretty common as people get used to 6-picks, is not doing it, like, forgetting to do it as a 6-pick and not wanting to keep it more secret. But that is the purpose of it. Bibu and Brid really doing some work for their team. Revan, actually, surprisingly, the one on top for Mockit. The rest of them just solid 2s.
No, Zephyr on only 1 kill. When you have Bibu on your team, he's pretty much going to take all of them.
Yeah.
So that's something. He's a hungry man. But go.
Hungry's
boy.
Order.
Yeah, we'll get to see more of Hungry later. You saw Boy really pushing it to the side of the desk. That is this is almost impossible to nade if you don't time it correctly.
That's the smart thing, is putting it high gives you the ability to avoid grenades for the most part. I mean, these guys are pretty good at cooking grenades. Like, you don't play an operator, but without grenades.
That's the thing. You need to expose yourself so much to get the hit, and that's the most important thing of it.
They didn't put a deployable shield there to help protect him.
I mean, the Maestro playing on the side of CCTV has been a very strong thing to have. Just in the back, he can get the 1-taps because of the ACOGs, and he's pretty much protected from fire.
The misplay, we did see that with that last time, though, was when he was crawling, Panix was crawling in to go with those nades. There should have been someone watching the Evil Eye, and they would have caught that and saved him from getting naded behind that shield. But since they weren't, and they weren't ready to pressure it, You know, you've got to be on top of that Evil Eye, and that's the problem with it is you've got to play it similar to an Echo sometimes, but I think you've got to be a little more active on an Evil Eye than you need to be on Yokai's, because Yokai's more of an end-of-round thing, whereas an Evil Eye can be used a bit more in the middle of the round.
But here's the thing. You would think that now is with the Echo, but you can add to that Yokai has become a lot more of a support during the round. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's
now because you have 2 Yokais, well, remind you, if you don't really know that, there's been changes. We'll go through Echo hopefully today and just remind you of all of that. But 2 Yokais, sure, you have a longer time recharge time, but you can use one of those Yokais to support your roamers, and then the second one to stick mostly to the site. Though you still have to be careful, as Mockit now preparing for an eventual attack of Vitality. This is very efficient, looking at Vitality and how slow they usually play. At a minute 30, they're almost in control of the whole site. But Panics in the same spot we're talking about. You see the ADSs? The second one that was set all the way downstairs, the second one above. They'll need to deal with this Ela, as Bibu will set up to throw in his 2 lifelines. And there we go, the ADS burning it perfectly. It's exactly what you don't want to be in, and Panics will get the kill even with the grenade splash. Now he's on the floor, no information given back to Bibu as he will not push. Now this is why they have the, oh there you go. That's why they have the Dokkaebi, because they need to hear where is the Ela. But there you go, Zephyr will help them with the logic bomb and he'll get the kill. At least for Vitality, they don't lose the Thermite, but I don't know if Thermite even has an extra charge at this point. No, they're done.
Oh, and that wall is not going to come up. It's so much harder to plant without at least one of those walls being open. They're really going to have to do some damage to the enemies first, and that Evil Eye is going to be just sitting there unless they can nade it out. And they don't have any nades other than Bibu to be able to do it.
That's the thing that they needed. They needed the Ela to get the kill on it, you know, either the Thermite or on the Buck. And there you go, Zofia. Bibu has no more utility to play with here as he faces the Maestro. But Void, in the meantime, still gets a kill, taking down the Dokkaebi before her second logic bomb is up, though. Fad will come in and try and go for the plan as Spark just runs on in. That's 2 kills with a Para 308. They'll fall back as 2 left on Mockit versus 3 on Vitality. How does this work? Enemy, though, comes in and gets 1. Did they open the hatch and open area? Yes, they did. This is the hatch that you were talking about before. Gives you a much better line of sight down into the site. And Maestro will try to use his evil eyes to his advantage, so they have to deal with Bibu upstairs. Spark as well, watching with the Para.
Oh, too high.
There you go. Bibu will get the kill still. Now he's got to deal with the second one. Void with the ACOG, but it's all up to Spark, who'll land the 3K. The Para 308. Capitao works out fine. And you know what? Vitality now 5-1 means they guarantee at least 1 point. They're 1 round away from victory. This is very much a blitz.
Yeah. I got to give a lot of credit to the Thermite and the Capitao for getting that plant down, though. In a dire situation like that, the fact that they were able to get it down and hold that hole against all the pressure and actually stick the plant with just one person defending the planter without opening any holes in the wall or anything like that and just having the hatches open, that was almost a desperate play, but a very well-played one. And I got to give, that was well executed. And then Bibu's play upstairs with the Claymore on the door to make sure he could protect himself, because he's baiting them in, because you see that time and time again. They come up for the flank on that hatch, and it's so predictable, read right into it.
The interesting thing is that Vitality did not even need their signature glass to take this round in that fashion. Panics' position there on the Ela. Whilst it did work, it did not do enough, because Vitality were very efficient at clearing out things with a lot of time left on the clock for them.
Surprisingly?
So yeah, surprisingly. That's, you know, historically speaking, it's not really been a thing. However, Vitality just, the way that they're able to execute on the site is extremely impressive versus a team like Mockit, because they should not have had the advantage there at the end. And it seems like any team that Vitality will play against, they're just going to ban Echo against them.
Yeah.
Because they realize their only real weakness is Echo. So permaban, pretty much. We'll see how that goes throughout the season. But you see the setup very similar to what we had before from Mockit. I think they had a pretty good start. However, once that diffuser went down, it kind of all went downhill.
Well, and you see some adjustments for that. For example, the deployable shield at the top of the server stairs, so that if you're going to have Panics playing on those stairs again, could be a little bit safer, but it's not like Bibu can't just take that out with one simple grenade.
But that's the thing. That's what usually happens, is that Mockit will always put a deployable shield, But there's two reasons to it. Obviously, it's a shield. It's right in your face. However, number two, you end up using more utility against the shield and not having enough to really deal with the ADS behind it.
And when last time you saw them throw a bunch of flashbangs to try and burn those, and it actually ended up not working out for them in terms of not burning the utility. But then could have the sister rivalry upstairs again here as Bibu could potentially find Panix, who's playing in a very different position this time.
No, well,
Oh, Rafael.
I'm not sure if they were using that shield to, play the mind games here, but Jmot Mine will get thrown up as you'll see the call coming in from the Dokkaebi. 3 players are pushing into Ella. Of course, Panix here. First Jmot will go up as Panix will get the kill. He's going to try to snipe him up one by one, but he's got the support of Enemy. The second kill will go their way. Rafal will get the kill on Enemy, however, as Bibu will fall back into the janitor closet. And if he only knew that Panix was right behind the wall.
You could open it.
Can only open it. There you go. Lifelines, 2 more will get expended. It's Panix and Mockit in general just trying to burn as much time away from Vitality. And Bibu, very good pre-fire here as he turns around and gets the kill on Panix.
That's a lot of people lost just upstairs, though, and they still have to push all the way down. So I'd say the roam play by Panix and Enemy, yeah, it cost them their lives, but they did a pretty good job taking out 2 and burning up 2 minutes in the process.
That's the thing. There are no more charges left for the Zofia. Only two grenades to use, so those are just a concussion. So soft destruction pretty much out the way here. But they have to deal with Ravan that still has a nitro cell, and Rafal only has 1 more exothermic charge with 40 seconds left on the clock. They need to decide, do they go for the wall? They probably will try to do so, unfortunately, and he's the one carrying the diffuser right into Mockit's hand. What a huge blunder here.
You have to drone that just before you enter. You can't trust behind server to be clear.
You have to wait until the Dokkaebi gets to the other side of the garage and have the Zofia coming in behind you. You have the lifelines. You could have used them here. But now they'll have to face against Revan, who has an idea of where Bibu is. They'll go into 1v1. Bibu taking about a bit of damage, but Revan will get it. Bibu with the 2K, the Void, last man alive on the Maestro. He'll go in Hill Spray. He'll get 1 kill, but Fuser will get set on the floor as this might just turn into a 1v1. Can he disrupt it? No, he cannot. And now it's the 1v1. A Void on the Maestro and Bibu on the Zofia. He gets tagged just a bit more as he has to deal with the security room. To the gas canisters that were thrown in the past by the smoke. If only they were able to use it here. The amount of euros that are in that bank vault. Hopefully it smells good in the back because we'll have 1 dead person in it. Voy will go in for the diffuser. The angle not set up correctly here, but Voy will go in for it again. He's got to stick this. There's not enough time. He'll go in for the 1v1 again, but the Bibu here just delaying things so much on the Zofia, and he'll go and get the final shot. Vitality clean up the game, 6-1. This, with the way that the whole round was played out, you would have expected Mockit to get this round easy. Vitality literally gave them the diffuser and the thermite. Everything was in their hands, yet still, Vitality will triumph. It seems like the bane of their existence is the Echo, and not really more. 13 kills for Bibu. Just, jeez. What is this?
Absolutely.
How does he do that? How does he even do that? I will never understand the level of skill that players in Pro League have, but especially at a level like Bibu. This is definitely a very exciting play and bit of matchup from Vitality here. Really, Mockit being outplayed at every corner.
That was the most dominant game we've seen since the Cloud9 match.